You cannot answer a question while there are Milk Duds in your mouth.
Wow.
Because it is
Disgusting.
a little bit gross.
I'm sorry.
No, you're not gross. You're not gross at all. It's one of my pet peeves.
Really?
Is
talking with like food, open mouth, and everything.
the noises, and it only happened after I had a baby. So ever since I had a baby, I have this weird thing with noises. I don't know what it is. My therapist says when I had the baby, things got rewired up here.
I sense that too. You know, like when someone, this is such a terrible image to give off, but like when someone's eating banana or something.
Oh, that.
And you hear that. I hear that more and more now as I get older. I can't tell you why.
And it bothers you.
I want to rip.
Yep.
I just want to rip my eyes out. I don't know.
The other thing is when people.
I'm sure people who are doing it are nice people.
Yeah. This is it called snarfy, where someone goes, or they like.
Oh God.
That's the absolute worst.
I didn't know there was a name for that.
I mean, it's just the worst. Anyway, I'm talking to Benjamin Block.
Donald Trump
Yes.
was doing that the other night. Okay, right?
No, he was sniffing.
Oh, he was sniffing.
Which is, believe me, annoying enough as it is. But this is where you're like sniff actual stuff through the like canals. Anyway, when I looked at the guest list for today's show, I thought we were talking to Benjamin Bratt, and I was confused and excited all at the same time.
See, you know.
You could see, but
I
then
get that a lot.
I looked closer, and it was actually Benjamin Block.
That's right.
And then I got excited because we were going to talk sports, and even though I don't follow sports on a day-to-day basis, I like your whole approach to sports because you not only cover sports, you cover like sports/human interest,
Yeah.
which is what I did. At the Today Show, or at all my sporting jobs before the Today Show was sort of human interest sports.
Yeah, no, I'm excited that you're excited to talk sports and you can get back in that world again. It definitely, as I was telling you, it definitely sort of puts me in the minority, I think, when you're trying to find the human interest piece when you're just at a random
Right.
sporting event, because obviously everyone's on a deadline and the recap is important, and with the digital age,
Yeah.
it's all about public consumption, right? And catchy
Yep.
titles and catchy leads and everything, and I'm about that as well, because you have to play the game or play in the sandbox, you know, as I was told once. But yeah, I'm stubborn and maybe, you know, cut from an older cloth, I guess, an older soul. So yeah, I love to find that piece whenever I'm covering whatever it is.
That's what I did. But what Ben is describing is, so you're in a scrum at the end of a game. You're all around, say, Derek Jeter went like 2 for 3. So everyone's around Derek Jeter's locker, and everyone's going to ask him about his great night. You know, everyone's there to ask him question after question after question. And then you come in and you're like, Derek, so when you're, I don't know what, I'm making it up, like, the rotation on the swing, have you noticed that your abs have gotten stronger over the years? Like, whatever it is, maybe you're talking about how athletes are in better shape now than they
Right.
were. Like, have you found that you're in better, everyone looks at you like, who is this guy? Like, what are you talking? You're wasting our time here, right? That's how I was looked upon.
Or do you like ask like, did you have Milk Duds before?
Yeah, the random question, like the guy who asked the question at the Super Bowl, right?
You always get that one guy who's like, what's
then-
your favorite? If you could be any candy bar, what would you be?
Milk Dart.
I'm somewhere in between. I don't think I'm that person, but yeah, no, I mean, like, using that example just off the top of my head, you know, you could ask a question about his workout routines, and then that night when he hits the game-winning hit, instead of saying, you know, at the bottom of the ninth with 2 outs, he comes through again. You could say, you know, something to the effect of the winning hit was really a result of workouts that he started 6 months ago, and go into a whole nother angle while still giving the numbers and the important
Sure.
quotes. I don't know. I don't know how I gravitated towards that, but I did, and it's funny because you're even sort of an outcast among other reporters in that scrum.
Yeah.
They look at you and they're like, why isn't he asking the question like, so what was going through your head when you did what you did?
Right.
Because that's the generic
Exactly.
initial question, right? So
Exactly.
what were you thinking when you hit the home run?
That's the question, and then you know what the other question that I always can't stand is at the end of the half at a big game, as the field reporter is running after the coach, the question is always, Coach, any plans for the second half? What are you gonna do differently in the second half? Coach, what do you think about the second half? It's the same. It's like, come on, like
Smoke is coming out of their ears.
Yeah,
and all
no
they
one
want
wants
to
to
do
be there.
is
Just go back into
I'm
the
going to
locker.
berate my players at halftime, and we're going to do better.
Right. What's your favorite sport to cover?
You know what? Recently, it's been boxing.
Really?
It has been. I grew up as a competitive tennis player, and I loved everything about tennis, the subtleties and everything. And
You should introduce him to Jared, Lance.
Who's that?
Jared is a friend of mine who is also a professional tennis player.
We should have
cool.
Jared on the show.
We have to. I'll let you reach out to him. We're going to start working out again next week. And now I train with Jared. We work out together.
Oh, yeah.
And he's training he works for a big financial company, and instead of taking on meetings, he takes them all to play tennis.
Smart.
So he works out to keep up his tennis game, and I just work out because I'm competitive with him.
Yeah.
That's basically all it is. Okay, so boxing. I don't
Yeah.
really know much about boxing.
You know what? I didn't grow up really watching boxing like Friday nights when it was popular, and there's something about it, and maybe it's what draws me to tennis. I think I was definitely drawn to sports like tennis and golf and boxing because of the one-on-one aspect. Not that I wasn't a good team player, but I think after a while I grew tired of finger pointing in sports. You know, like if you lose, it's if he would have made this play, then then this wouldn't have happened. And when you're in there by yourself,
it's all about you.
You know, I'm okay with losing, and I respect that because, right, if you do something, it's on you, like you said.
Right.
I don't know, there's something very raw about boxing, and I wish it was more popular than it is, and
well, it's not popular anymore because I don't know anyone that's really boxing. I knew Mike Tyson, I knew Holyfield.
Right, that was like our heyday back
right,
in
and
the
then
80s and the 90s. And
that was
Ollie
it.
Frazier. Ollie Foreman, Ollie Norton. Like,
Right,
those
but it
were bigger
ended at...
But back in the day, it was bigger than the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
And that's when boxing, actually, that's when the Madison Square Garden was like the mecca for boxing, and now they lose out on bids to places like Vegas and, in California. And so I wish in part it would come back to New York, bigger names, when there are big fights. But yeah, there's a fight coming up on November 19th, and it's kind of to my point. So these two guys, it's Sergey Kovalev and Andre Ward, and they are both undefeated, and they're both in the top 5 of pound-for-pound fighters in the world. And it's something like the third fight in history where that has happened, where they're both in the top 5. And
where are they fighting?
And they're both undefeated. They're fighting in Vegas, I think at the new T-Mobile Arena. And this is a huge fight, and they did a whole media onslaught in New York, and they're really trying to pump it up. And I think that even with all the excitement around it that they're trying to give it, it's just it doesn't have the personnel. It doesn't have the Tyson and the Holyfield and the Lennox Lewis.
But no one's even. But here's what I did with sports. No one's talking about it. But here's what I did with sports. I had to. And it was for selfish reasons. I really wanted my parents, my mom, let's say my mom, I wanted my mom to be able to follow what I was talking about. So instead of getting on the air and speaking in sports talk, which you're really only limiting your audience and saying, Chad Pennington's still out with that bum shoulder, backup took this many snaps in practice this week, and who cares? The people that already follow sports already know that. And the people that don't, I've already lost. So what I would do is I'd say, here's what happened. Chad Pennington, right? Maybe he doesn't have the strongest arm on the team. Maybe he doesn't have the most accurate arm. And maybe he's not the fastest runner. But somehow this guy seems to get it done, right? There's a way that he gets it done. But now all of a sudden, he hurt his shoulder and he can't play. And now the team's like, well, we've been used to getting it done. Now what are we going to do? So now they have a different guy down, a different boss who's going to come in and try. I mean, I didn't break it down that much, but I broke it down. So the point where as soon as I go to show you highlights, now my mom's like, oh my gosh, I'm going to see what happens to Chad Pennington. Like, is his shoulder okay? All of a sudden he got it. So if I was doing that boxing match.
One of our friends bought Todd Pennington's house.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, that's really funny. I was talking about Chad, but that's okay. But that's equally. No, that's equally as cool. It's so cool. So that's congratulations. But you gotta find a way to make what isn't interesting, and I don't want to say interesting, but what isn't prevalent and what isn't that popular, and like seep it into the mainstream.
Well, I was gonna ask you, like, where did you learn that? Because I heard that early on. You say your mother. I heard someone said using their grandmother to say, give the sports reporter, do your story as if you're explaining it to your grandmother who doesn't know anything about sports. And that just always stuck with me. I mean, where did you learn that?
I did it because I would talk sports and I would visibly see people tune out. I mean, like, if I was in a group of people and I was talking about sports, I would say, like, well, these 3 people or my friends don't care what I'm talking about. Or, like, my mom, if I'm at the dinner table, like, my mom is sort of not paying attention. But what if I told a story so that everybody paid attention, right?
Yeah.
The sports people, the non-sports people, the casual fan, the like, what if I could find a way to tell the same story that everyone else is going to tell, but my version of it is going to appeal to everybody.
Right.
I went into every single game that way. So if there was like a Cowboys-Giants game coming up and I was previewing it, no one cares about previewing and what the records are against each other, and you could mention that. But I think one time I likened it to like a Monopoly game, and this, like this player was this and this player was this. Now do you understand? Oh, now I get it. Now I see the importance of this game, and you just sort of apply it to things that people would understand. You're still giving the same story, the same level of importance, but now you've broadened your appeal a little bit. You have to do that.
And I've seemed to like try to take it a step further, where I try and paint a picture with words. I don't know. Do you know Steve Summers?
Yeah.
The schmooze off the Fan?
Schmooze.
I interned back at the Fan actually way back.
It's a sports radio show here.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, we're talking. See what we're talking about.
See?
I should have.
You should have
I'm
done.
a victim of my own.
Yes, you are.
So right.
And not just a sports radio show. I mean, these people live in New York City. People live for sports talk. They call in. They are an extension of your family. They listen to them religiously. It is sports talk like nobody's business.
Yeah, if you haven't heard of it, exactly. It's what every format has sort of emulated since then. And they're like two guys walk into a bar sort of format, and so Steve Summers, I think he's one of the original guys in the station, and he
has such a rhythm of how he speaks.
Such a fantastic rhythm, paints pictures with words, very witty, very intelligent, very dry, and
his openings are always great. Like
if I miss his whole show, but I just catch the first 20 minutes, that's good enough for me, because that's really the best part. I try and create my own niche, my own style, but the author, Gay Talese, is one of my favorites. He's phenomenal in doing the same thing of really sort of putting you in the arena or wherever you are. And I'm just trying to pick and take from people and places that I've been, and then just put my own spin on it, I guess.
That's what you got to do.
Right?
Absolutely. Are you following the baseball playoffs? And I only ask because Lance asks me about it every single day.
Did you watch the game last night?
It was funny. I haven't really been watching the playoffs that closely.
Because you're more into boxing than baseball?
Yeah, I guess so. At least right now with the story I'm doing. But I did tune in last night, and
what inning?
I have this new app that like alerts me to when a game gets hot and when you should tune in. And so I was doing some other stuff last night, and I got the notification, so I tuned in actually in the bottom of the ninth, or top of the ninth, sorry. And at that point, Jansen for the Dodgers had been in a 2-inning plus save situation, and it was just for not having a rooting interest in either team and pretty much missing the first 4 games of the series. I was on the edge of my seat.
Yeah.
I mean, I was like nauseous with excitement. It was crazy.
Yeah, that's awesome.
And I mean, I'm a Yankees fan, and I haven't had much reason to be excited
Remember
like
they
that.
brought in Clayton Kershaw.
And it was so funny because I turned to a friend of mine who I was watching it with, and I said, I really hope that this guy can finish it, can save it and take him to the next series. Because, I mean, not that he needs my hope, because he's phenomenal in the regular season, but I feel like as his career goes on, he's going to be so closely tied to Madison Bumgarner because they're both phenomenal pitchers, except their gap sort of widens in the postseason because Bumgarner is just untouchable, and Kershaw has experienced some bumps in the road, and it was just a great game. Did you watch it?
I did not watch it. What was I watching last night? Oh, I had not. Yesterday was a crazy busy day. I did not get a chance to watch any news, so I spent my 7 to 8 my 8 to 9 rather watching politics. I watched a Chris Hayes show just because I wanted to get caught up.
The fact that somebody else accused Donald Trump of doing this.
Yeah, it's another woman. Pile it on.
Michelle Obama had a speech. But
I did see a lot of excerpts
Clayton
of that
Kershaw
speech.
had a historical moment.
I know.
I mean, I've been following politics just as closely as anyone else.
It's like a sports match.
The baseball game, I think, in part, the reason why I was so excited last night was it was just a nice reprieve from from the politics.
It was.
But not like anybody should give Trump credit. I'm not preaching here at all, but I mean, every time I think he can't top himself, he does.
He does.
So I guess I give him credit for that.
Give him credit for topping himself. You go, Trump. You go top yourself.
But did you see? I saw an article this morning. I forget who it was, but Trump apparently is widening his net of who he criticizes, and he got on the NFL. He decided to take on the NFL this time. He was at a rally, and I think a woman had fainted, and he noticed that she fainted, and they took her away, and then she actually came to and came back, and somehow he noticed her coming back. I guess she must have been close up or something, and he said something to the effect of how, like, see, my people, my followers are strong. They're not like the NFL players who, when they get a little tap on the head, they're out with a concussion. He said something like that, and it just created just a free-for-all.
But why would he
NFL
even
players.
randomly go into that?
I don't know what goes on in his head if he's just like searching.
Didn't
for
he say something this morning about if Hillary fainted in Tiananmen Square, what would happen, and blah blah blah? And everyone was like, "What?"
Did he really?
If Hillary, I think that's what I mean. I was chasing kids and diapers, and it was crazy chaos this morning. But I think that's what I heard him say. Please correct me if I'm wrong. But yeah, look, he is. It is the broadest, most public display of sport there is. This final sprint to the finish line in American politics.
I don't know if I can take the third debate. I mean, the finger pointing, unless there's another Ken Bowen sighting. I don't know.
It's going to be great. Well, Lance already is wearing the red sweater, so he is one bone ahead of where we should be. I'm excited for it.
I'm still going to write you in for president.
Lance thinks I should be president.
I know it wasn't me. It was other people.
Oh, other
and then
people.
I mean, if you were going to be running, I would feel
Lance,
miserable.
you and I are partners till the end here.
I'll be your vice president.
No, that's not true. I'm
That's
sure
not
if I end
you
up
were
getting
running, you would
sick,
get
there'll be
better-
someone
you're
else
better.
hosting tomorrow, and we'll just need to change the name of the show. Would you have any interest in doing TV, or you really just want to write?
You know what? I don't mean for this to be taken the wrong way. I kind of enjoy hiding behind my words.
What the hell does that mean?
Right?
God.
You know what? Like, I give you this scenario.
Right.
But I don't know if I want TV. I'm excited to try this TV.
People ask me all the time, should I go to grad school? And I say, you want to be just a hard reporter?
Talk.
Right.
And there's, but I think the majority respects, your track record, what you do, what they're so just outside, they're just.
What are they?
Minor league team?
Yeah. I covered the Rochester, I covered the Amherst hockey, and then I covered the Orioles AAA team.
Maybe somebody in Binghamton who played?
Yeah,
I was looking for the softer
How did
because
we
we're
get
talking
there?
about the human interest side of sports.
That is not
We
very
were
human
talking
interest.
about-
So maybe in my mind, I thought there might have been a chance for something.
It's actually weird. I went to see her.
Anyway, I mean,
Sure.
you're basically doing recap. I mean, when you're doing a 6 and 11.
Oh, you can't.
When you write or when you cover something.
It's really actually pretty cool. It's sort of like who they were a staple of that station.
How was that?
Like saying, how was it to work together? Sort of, I had them go back to where it began, their love for sports and
Yeah.
obstacles that they faced. And so it's a cool piece that you should check out. And
Vice TV?
it didn't moved, but
Which piece do you think is your
in your intro and everything, and then you're at a
Mike when he left, how well Francesa would do, and so he was complaining about like the whole.
Where's Russo now?
Mike is still on. Mike Francesa is still on WFAN in the afternoons, but now they don't. Now they only have to pay one talent instead of two talents.
Yeah.
And they have the same audience.
And they were both commanding toward the end. They were both commanding pretty heavy paychecks. But I mean, they were worth it, whether you liked them or didn't like them. They were just there. There was a magnet to it, and
Yeah.
it was sort of like background music in my life growing
Sure.
up.
For a lot of us.
Yeah, it was just always on, whether I was paying attention to it or not, and so I really like that piece, and I didn't. Not that I would do it an injustice, but I didn't want to take away from their actual quotes. The way that they articulated their own stories coming up was pretty cool to me, so I just wanted to keep it as is. And I thought for this format it worked very well. And
Awesome.
Did it seem to you like they were still getting along?
I found them to be. I forget when they split up. I guess in 2008 or something like that. So they've been apart for about 7 years. So I haven't followed them too closely since they split up. but I found them to be pretty cordial towards each other when they were talking about each other. They both sort of keep the door open for a possibility.
Yeah, because they know it's good business.
Yeah, I think they're both very good politicians, especially Mike. And
speaking about people that split up, you know who I saw is actually having a concert in a couple of weeks?
Simon and Garfunkel.
Art Garfunkel's actually playing in Connecticut. Really?
Is he singing though?
I assume he's singing. What else does he do?
Oh, you're right. He doesn't play an instrument. Awesome.
I mean, he doesn't play. I mean,
no, he doesn't play any instrument except the
what is that? Right.
Chime.
The grogger.
Benjamin, thank you so much.
Yo,
it's been great getting to know you. Come back and let us know what you're writing, where you're writing it, and let's have some fun with that.
Yeah, that would be great. Thank you for having me.
Awesome. All right, we'll take a break, and we'll come back
with
to
the closing. Right. We get a picture.